It's Brendan here from Infiniti Investments, and today, at least I'm not in the car, so I'm actually in my office here, and I wanted to share with you some fundamental thinking in terms of the arithmetic on why I love investing in property in America, and specifically multifamily properties, but most of the time the numbers speak volumes. So I wanted to compare some simple numbers related to investing in South Africa versus investing in the USA. So let's put SA on this side versus the USA. And in South Africa, if we buy a typical entry-level townhouse, let's call it a million rand, and we put down a 20% deposit, that's 200,000 rand. And let's just for interest sake say that's all inclusive, including transfer duties and all the rest of that stuff. Which means you're going to finance 800,000 rand at a bond rate of, let's say, 10.5%. What's the repayment going to be? 10% is 80 grand, so 100 grand divided by 12 is, call it 9 grand a month. Roughly, I'm not using a calculator, but I'm sure you can do the sums on a calculator and get a little bit more accurate numbers. So if we were at 9,000 rand a month times 12 for the year is 9 times 12, it's 108 grand per year on the bond. And body corporate fees and rates and taxes and stuff on a million rand property, body corporate fees probably about 1,500 to 2,000 rand a month. So let's go low on the 1,500 side, and rates and taxes call it 1,000 rand a month. So we're going to be at 2,500 rand a month. So 2,500 times 12, it's 2 times 12 is 24, 5 times 12 is 600, so that's 30,000 rand per year. So if we put the bond plus the expenses, we're at 138 per year expenses. How much income are we going to get from a decent property in South Africa? Because cash flow is everything. What we hope for is that the value of the property will go up, but in terms of actual income on a decent property that's in a nice area, I would say a 10% return in terms of a gross yield is a pretty aggressive return. So that would be 100,000 rand a year. Let's say it's even better than that. Let's say it's 12%. So if we're at 12% as a gross yield, that's going to give us an income of 120k per year. Can we agree that we've got a difference between those two numbers of 18,000 rand per year short? Because we've got 138 grand of expenses and 120,000 rand of income. So we're paying in every month 1,500 rand a month on this property, which is usually a pretty average property. In order to bring that down, what do we have to do? Put down a bigger deposit, get a better interest rate, maybe get a better deal, negotiate harder with the seller, bring it down from 1 million to 900,000, but you're still going to end up, best case scenario, positive a little bit, 100 rand a month, or at zero cash flow. Sorry, I didn't plan how this was going to work out, so it might not be that neat, but I'm sure you can get the idea behind what I'm trying to show you. Is in South Africa, we hope and pray that that goes up in value, because if we eventually pay the bond down, we're going to have this income when it's finally settled, and we hope that that goes up. And if we combine the value growth with the income going up over a period of time and take all the expenses into account, we're going to get an internal rate of return number. And that's the growth on our money. Now it's very important that we know what that number is, because that's when we know how fast our negative shortfall is growing, how fast the value is growing, what our expenses effect is going to have on the growth of our money. So we need to know the internal rate of return. But I can't buy Starbucks with the internal rate of return unless I wait for it for a very, very long time. And I need to make sure that I'm getting a decent internal rate of return to warrant the negative shortfall. And if this thing, for whatever reason, goes dark, as in tenant doesn't pay, all of a sudden I'm minus 138,000 if they don't pay for the whole year. I'm not saying that happens, but if they don't pay for 1 month, I'm paying the whole one out of my back pocket. I've got to find that money somewhere. I don't like this stuff. The numbers don't make sense to me anymore. I still do it and I still make money in South Africa. Why? I'm at zero cash flow, but the growth is good. And if I put down a big enough deposit, I'm still getting reasonable cash flow. But I have a choice. I can do something different. So if we take similar numbers, in the US, get say $1 million, for ease of doing the numbers, put down a deposit of 20%, 200,000, and we don't go with as aggressive an income. We can get reasonable income in the US, but let's say we only get an 8% income. So 8 on $1 million is going to give us $80,000 a year. We've bonded 800, and this is where the magic comes. 800,000 at an interest-only rate of, let's say, 5%. That's where the magic happens. The 10.5 is what's killing us here compared to 5% on this one. 5 times 8 is, we're going to pay $40,000 a year in interest. And why can I do the straight calculation on there is very often when I'm buying multifamily products, I've got an interest-only period on the bond, which is significant, 3, 5, sometimes 10 years. On some HUD financing, I can get sometimes up to 35 years fixed interest and 35 years interest only. It's ridiculous. It's very possible. It can happen, which means if my income is $80,000, and the reason I'm not bringing the expenses in is when I'm investing in multifamily, those expenses are already taken into account, and I can expect an 8% rough income after all the expenses are taken into account. 7 to 8%. So, can you see the difference between 40 and 80,000? That's positive $40,000 per year, which as a cash on cash return on my $200,000 is cash on cash 4 divided by 200, it's a 20% cash on cash. Now that's pretty aggressive. Generally in the States, if we're putting down a 30% deposit and we're buying at a 6% cap rate, we're going to end up at a 10% cash on cash. And that's buying vanilla average deals with no value add, nothing fancy. What's amazing about this is it's positive cash flow on day one on my deposit. On the money that I'm laying out, I've got a positive cash flow on the very day I take ownership. That's what I can buy Starbucks with. Do I care what my IRR is over here? Yes, I do. I want to know that I'm going to get some rental increases over time, and if the cap rates stay consistent or go down, I'm going to get some value growth. But I'm not basing my decision on what the IRR is. I'm basing my decision on my cash flow. So for every $100,000 I'm laying out, I'm getting a 10% cash on cash, I'm getting $10,000 a year, whatever that works out to, $800 a month roughly. So every time I'm laying out, I've now got cash flow. Now I don't care what happens in the market anymore because the cash flow is what's feeding me, it's what's giving me my global financial freedom. That's what's important to me, is cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. What's also amazing about it is here, I've got no buffer. If the tenant doesn't pay, I have to pay. Yeah, with 10% cash on cash, if the tenants don't pay, and if I'm buying a multifamily complex of 140 or 200 units, if 20 of them don't pay, or 30 of them don't pay, or 40 of them don't pay, I've still got a buffer of cash flow to go into before I have to start paying in out of my back pocket to settle that bond. Significantly different in terms of risk, significantly different in terms of what I can do with my investment and how much freedom it gives me, and that's why I love buying cash flowing assets in the USA. Hope you guys saw the value. Anyway, share this video if you thought it was exciting and fun and entertaining and educational. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.